Hello everyone, and welcome back to another one of my videos. My name is Sebastian Lemke, as always, also known as LempyYGO, and the last couple of weeks we have been analyzing the top performing decks of the Master Duel Challenger Cup metagame here in Europe. And we're definitely going to analyze week number 8 as well. This video will be up here on this channel tomorrow, but today I wanted to prioritize something else, because the Americans have started their own tournament series now for Master Duel. The Master Circuit Series by MBT has started this weekend, and I definitely wanted to have a look over there and wanted to check out how their metagame looks like, wanted to check out how the deck list looked that they used in Top Cut, and I found some information, so we are definitely going to talk about that today. One thing first though, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and maybe leave a like to this video specifically. I would appreciate that. But now let's get into the action, and you can already see the pie chart of top 16 here on the screen. And as we can see, the biggest and most represented deck is Mathmech. 5 Mathmechs made their way into top 16. And something noteworthy is that the 2 Ignister decks that we already see down here also featured the Mathmech cards. It wasn't just pure Ignister, but also a small Mathmech engine in there. So if you want to say so, it was 7 out of 16 decks using Mathmech cards. And therefore Mathmech by far was the most represented deck, which is to me not a super big surprise. I expected it to be the most represented deck, but honestly I didn't expect it to be that far off of the others, because here in Europe, Sword Soul definitely is a competitor for Mathmech. They are like going head by head. It's very close between the two decks, but it's not like Mathmech is way better by far. And we see like 7 Mathmechs if you count the Ignister list as well, compared to only 2 Sword Soul lists. So Sword Soul definitely not really having the success it has here. It doesn't have the success in America that it had here in Europe the last couple of weeks, which is very interesting to see. And then we also see 2 branded Despia decks making it into top 16. And I can already spoiler you, those 2 decks did not only make it into top 16, but they also made it all the way to the finals, and it was a Despia mirror match in the finals. So that's really, really interesting. And I do think this is like a similar number to the European competition. We had a similar success of Despia. It was right behind Sword Soul. Here they even have the same number of 2 tops, so that's definitely reasonable. Adamancipator though is not really happening that much anymore in the European competition. You see one like here and there, but overall it's not having a whole lot of success. So I was surprised by seeing also 2 Adamancipator lists making it in Top Cut. And then Ignister is also like super interesting. Of course, there are a couple of guys performing well with Ignister, but overall we're not having a bunch of success with the deck here in Europe. And those 2 Ignister players were not only making top 16, but again, they also both made top 4. In top 4, we had 2 Ignisters and 2 branded Despia decks. So that's really interesting and something noteworthy. And maybe we Europeans should look into that deck a little bit more. Could be an interesting tech. And then also we see the decks that were in there once. The 1 branded Thunder Dragon 60 card pile just looked like insane fun, but also looked a little bit bricky to me. And it's also going to lose 1 Grass Looks Greener from today on. And then we see the Marincess deck and the Subterror deck. Subterror is popping off a little bit here in Europe as well. Like, I've seen multiple people topping with Subterror over here too. They didn't really have the success to win a Challenger Cup yet, but like I at least saw 3 or 4 different persons actually topping the deck, using the deck in Top Cut. So that's not really a surprise to me to also have one of them in Top Cut in the US. And also Marincess, yeah, here and there it will top, so I don't think we have to talk about it that much. But one thing I need to talk about is, where's Runic? Like, they have 30-minute rounds for this. So that means Runic is even stronger, because it will go to time less, and still nobody went with Runic. Also, a major difference between the tournament vote of Challenger Cups and the Master Circuit Series is that you are forced to play the one deck you submitted all the way through Swiss. And also even in Top Cut, but then you can use a side deck there. So in Swiss, your opponents cannot even counterpick you. I felt like Runic would have been an amazing deck to pick for this event, but not a single one topped. And I heard that also not a whole lot of them even entered the tournament. But let's look into some deck lists that actually did manage to top. First of all, we have the people's favorite. People in chat were rooting for him like crazy. I wish I was that, making top 4 with the Ignister MathMech list. As you can see, there is a MathMech engine in this as well. It's not too big, triple circular, 1 edition and 1 sigma. And he's mainly focusing on the Ignister cards, triple Hachiji and triple Picari, of course. And yeah, this is just a big combo pile. And I honestly feel like this is really, really, really strong going first, but it should struggle going second. And therefore, I would think that he won a lot of coin tosses, but he looked pretty good when he went second, and I saw him on stream as well. So he definitely knew what this deck was doing. So yeah, I do think this is a deck we should consider a little bit more here over in Europe, and it definitely looked like a strong contender maybe for the future as well. And then we have the good old Tyrese, and this is the winner of the tournament. And he also tweeted about it saying, hey, this was a pretty goofy list I played, but it managed to bring me all the way to the title, netting him $500. And yeah, I gotta agree, this is a goofy list. We see he's playing Radiant and the Lightning Kaiju as well. So those are like branded fusion targets for light and dark. But just maining Kaijus in the first place seems so insane. But when you see that there's so much Ignister having success, it all of a sudden becomes incredibly powerful for him. And he had to play versus Ignister in the semis, and it worked out for him. And he even managed to win the tournament, even though he ashed his own branded opening in top 4. That was like one of the craziest misclicks I have seen in Master Duel competition. He activated opening, ashed it, then Shane called by the grave, realizing he could not call by the grave his own ash, and then just scooped. That was game number 2, and he still managed to win game number 3. But that was just super interesting to watch. Also, he was summoning Titaniclad a lot. Usually, I did not summon Titaniclad a bunch, and I have watched a lot of Master Duel as well on high competition, and this card is not being summoned a bunch, but he did it like non-stop, which was really interesting to see. Next up, we have a top 16 list by TR3S. It's a MathMech list, and there I don't see anything too crazy. He decided to main deck the Cosmics to be prepared for all the Runic decks that might be there, but in the end weren't there. And besides that, yeah, just a lot of hand traps, nothing too out of the picture, out of ordinary. And here we have the top 16 list by iPhones now as well, another MathMech list, and all of them decided to play Cosmic. To be fair, Cosmic is also decent versus Sword, so it's decent when you can bait out the trap versus MathMech as well. It's decent when you can bait out Branded in Red or Branded Banishment versus the Despia deck as well. So all around, it seems to be a pretty good card in the metagame right now. Also being hyper prepared for the mirror match and for Despia with the Ghost Bells in the main deck. Also that one-off token collector is a pretty nice bridge for the small world as we know. And something I really like is Triple Tactic Talents. I think this card has not seen enough play in Master Duel yet, but I think people will be starting to play this card more and more and more. In the TCG, this card is very much a staple in a lot of decks right now, and I think in Master Duel it will eventually become somewhat of a staple as well. But in general, like I have to say, 45 cards, maybe a little bit much. I think we could have trimmed that down a little bit, not having to play 45, but it brought him all the way to top 16, so he will definitely not be complaining. And then the last deck I want to talk about is the Fluffle deck that bubbled by becoming 17th after Swiss. I turned on the stream when they were playing the last round of Swiss, and then I was seeing a mirror match of Fluffles, and I was like, 2 Fluffles are X2? I haven't seen any Fluffle in competition here in Europe, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, Fluffle actually being somewhat successful for the first MCS, having one of them being almost on top cut and another one being pretty close to it. So I don't know, will we see more MathMech in the future here in Europe as well? I cannot really believe that we will, because this deck just seems like it's a worse version of Despia. Despia to me always feels like the better fusion deck, but of course you can set up Toad, you can set up Dweller turn 1, which is not too bad, but the Master Duel competition right now does not really care about Dweller that much. Like TCG, Dweller is insane, but Master Duel, not really. Scythe is a pretty bad card though. Like if you get Scythe, of course you will have a hard time usually. But overall, I think this is just a player's effort Ease SFW apparently is very well known to play this deck back and forth. He apparently plays this deck non-stop. And if you are playing a deck very well, and if your opponent maybe doesn't know what this deck does too much, you will on the long run probably have more success with it than you should expect to have with it normally. Yeah, but definitely shoutouts to all the Americans. It's great that you guys now have Master Duel competition as well. Hopefully at some point Americans and Europeans will be able to clash. That will be the case latest at the World Championship that was just announced for 2023. I cannot wait for it. I will definitely be hopefully I will be involved. I will try to be there as a player. Maybe there's a chance I could be there as a caster. It would just be absolutely phenomenal to watch the first World Championship of the Master Duel game. That's, I think, all that I have to say for this American tournament. See you guys for more Challenger Cup analysis, but I think I'm also going to keep analyzing those American Master Duel Circuit Series events. With all that being said, Lambi is signing out. Check out one of my daily Twitch streams in the future.